Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of The Aftermath. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Dylan.
Get ready for Feel Good.
Yeah.
We're beaming it straight to your ears.
Hell yeah.
Because we got a fucking Ghibli movie.
Episode 214.
Howl's moving Kazaa.
Howl's moving Kazaa. I just learned that this movie originally released in 2004. So this movie is officially 20 years old.
Have speared me.
But the one thing I'll say right off the bat is that I did not grow up on the Ghibli movies.
Mm-hmm.
I learned about them and watched them later in life whenever you introduced me into them.
Yeah.
The first one we watched was Princess Mononoke. And boy, howdy, was that what an introduction into the franchise.
What a starter.
And I want to say the first time we watched it was for the podcast.
It was, yeah.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm. That was one of our earliest episodes.
It was. And that is crazy to think about. As of recently, we have done Tales from Earthsea, which was a good... I enjoyed that one, even though apparently mass acceptance for that movie was not very well loved. But again, I thought it was a fun little film.
Yeah.
And then we've also done... what was the other one?
The other
Kiki's Delivery Service.
Yes. On
this podcast, we've covered those. But not podcast related, we have watched, or at least when I say we, like Dylan has introduced me into said other Ghibli movies. A lot like with Godzilla. We kind of like ping pong around between a whole bunch of them. I know for a fact that I've watched My Neighbor Totoro, Porco Rosso.
Yep.
Valley of the Wind. Nausicaa, yeah. Castles in the Sky.
Yep. The Wind Rises.
The Wind Rises. Is that most?
Spirited Away.
Spirited Away. Oh, I gotta forget that one.
Right. Whisper of the Heart.
Yes. Is that the really sad one?
I wouldn't say sad.
Okay. I don't know if I remember that one, but anyways, so there's been a handful of them that I have watched. I've been privy to now.
Still got a few left.
And I could have swore that a lot of those we watched for the podcast.
It really felt like it.
But
no.
Lo and behold, we were both wrong.
Not.
We scrolled through the catalog of movies that we've watched for this show, and we were like,
we found 3 of them bitches.
We're like, there's only 3 of them.
Yeah.
How interesting.
For shame.
So, as I was sitting here, I was like, the one that I've been thinking about the most, because I think it has, besides Kiki's Delivery Service or Princess Mononoke, there's like another one that, or the big one that I hear the most about is Howl's Moving Castle.
Yep. And
I remember the first time we watched it, I remember enjoying it, but I don't think that I fully comprehended a lot of what was going on in it.
Oh, yeah.
I think I did. Like I remember watching it, like and understanding it. But I think because we just watched it probably on a whim one time. Yeah. I wasn't really like locked in.
Right.
And so needless to say, I this go round watching it, man, I really jived with this one. I really connected
felt
with this
the waves
film.
with this one.
I mean, obviously, there's a lot of Ghibli movies that are really good.
Yeah. Most of them.
Most of them, right.
If not all. I enjoy all of them.
And I don't have like a definitive like number list of which one's my favorite, but this one's definitely up there.
Oh yeah.
It checks all the boxes for me. It's really fun and it's whimsical and it has that kind of grittier element to it a little bit.
Yeah.
Not
some action in there.
Not quite as gritty as Mononoke.
No, definitely not.
Mononoke is wild.
Yeah.
But I also kind of love the non-conventional love story. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah.
That it's I think it's a little bit unique in that regard, which I think is fun.
Yeah.
So yeah. But anyways,
it's good.
It's a great film.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched it, I definitely would recommend watching it.
Right.
Along with a lot of other Ghibli films, they're I think most times sometimes geared towards kids a little bit.
Right.
I don't think this one specifically was, but I
could be.
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of times I say like
it's pretty.
Yeah, a lot of times it'll say like G Kids. It's kind of like one of like the things that like
right. That's like the publishing /
Right.
localization company, I believe, that handles releases in the U.S.
And I don't believe that this one had that on there, but I don't know if that's just like
No, it does.
Okay,
Yeah.
I could have sworn I just said Ghibli, and then that was it. Like, so I thought it was like more towards.
Yeah, most of the DVDs have that as at the start.
Cool. So, anyways, to kind of get started on like talking about this movie, it is like I said a moment ago, it kind of has a bit of a non-conventional love story, I would say, and we start off with a young girl who's working in a hat shop, Sophie, and may I say, there's a star-studded cast of voice actors.
Right. Oh my god!
Like in a really cool way with the dub is what I'm meaning. And it's really cool.
I fucking got Christian Bale.
Yeah. And then what was I'm sorry, what was the other guy's name?
Crispin Freeman.
Well, yeah, that.
But
I'm talking about Billy Crystal.
Oh yeah, Mike Wazowski.
The Mike Wazowski himself, dude. What a cool person to have in the film. But it has a bit of a the dynamic between Sophie and her mother is not super elaborated on, but she kind of feels a bit of a flighty woman that kind of just marries around and kind of marries after money. And apparently Sophie's father was apparently the owner of the hat shop and was very fond of it, and so she takes a lot of pride and takes a lot of personal she takes a lot of things personally for the hat shop a little bit, even though it may be kind of at her detriment in a way.
Right.
So her mother and all
as the eldest sister, she seems obligated,
right,
in some way,
which is understandable, especially for like the kind of also I like that a lot of these films kind of have that like old timey feel a little bit.
Dude, this feels like pre-World War I era,
right?
Which is one of my favorite settings. Just
because
of how it looks.
It feels very late 1800s, very early 1900s. It's
and I'm
kind
sure
of steampunk vibe.
Right, like an idealized version of it, but god damn, it's so fucking pretty.
It's really cool.
Like I said, I get sick of it.
Right. It has a very steampunk adjacent vibe. Not in like the super egregious way, but just in the
just
kind of
like Industrial Revolution type stuff.
Steam powered, punky type stuff. Amalgamations of quote unquote like pipes and technology, and, that kind of stuff. But yeah, we start off with her, and then of course she, is working hard, grinding it out, and
sewing up hats.
Yeah. And then her mom and apparently I think some of her other sisters kind of like go run off.
Other workers or sisters. The only sister we see by name is Letty.
Oh, okay, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
And even she doesn't even look... They don't look like they're related. So it's probably... For me, it kind of is assumed that probably half-sister in some way.
Who knows?
Like a different father from the mother that just kind of keeps marrying around, potentially.
I mean, they talk about him like they're the same.
Oh, okay.
But, I mean, she probably gets more of her looks from her mother.
Right. So anyways, there's a weird family dynamic because it's not really elaborated upon, and then very quickly she's kind of swept away by...
Yeah, on her way to the bakery, she runs into a couple soldiers trying to put the moves on her.
Yeah.
And then out of nowhere, this... How would you describe Howl in his first appearance?
We don't know about him at this point in time.
It looks like he came from a boy band.
We see the castle, and we kind of hear talks of like, it's Howl's castle. There's the moving castle.
A fearsome and powerful wizard.
Yeah. And
so of course you're expecting some old coot, maybe with a pointy hat.
Right. The first time we see him, it just kind of, it just really it for me, it really comes across as charismatic.
Mm-hmm.
He's got the Riz,
right?
For those
the prettiest boy you ever did see.
Let me translate that into that for the Zoomer slop out there.
Riz.
He is the. I mean, whenever we first see Howl, he's the Rizzler. It just
oh my god,
I'm playing. But for me, honestly, it kind of comes across as slick.
Yeah.
He comes across as charismatic and charming, is what I would say.
Right.
He obviously he's a bit more put together
right.
and a little bit more, like you're saying, a little more, I guess, like flamboyant than some of the other people around, other
right.
quote unquote like men in that setting with like the military uniform.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that he just kind of swoops and he's like, "Hey, baby, I've been looking for you," like
right.
that kind of stuff, and like, where you been at? And she's like, the guys are like, "Hey, we're busy," and he's like,
right.
"Yeah, I bet you are." And get to stepping.
Get the fuck out of here.
Get to stepping. Get to marching, bitch. Right. Which I think is great. And it's again, it's like, okay, cool, that's kind of
right.
fun. And then he has like this kind of clever way of like, I'm gonna be tailed.
Right.
Act natural.
Don't freak out.
Don't freak out.
I got the goop men after me.
Exactly. And he's got a whole army of goop boys after him. Maybe slopping all over the place. Right. I love that, like, as they're like hurrying down the alleyway, that one
after he turns the corner, he just gives a
there's
quick,
the camera like hard like smash cuts to like you're looking down an alleyway and there's a drunk, almost like homeless looking man who's like slumped over in the alleyway, and like as the schlop men are all like running around, one just goes huh, and like turns around the corner, like turns and looks at him and just keeps running. And I was like, damn, that's funny. It's kind of just they're very they're kind of fumbling over each other in a way.
Weird looking, almost like a tidal wave.
Yeah. But then, of course, he uses his magic to kind of like lift her up.
Starts to fly.
Right.
And then they are just walking on air.
Yeah. And at that point, it's like, I mean, it's whimsical.
Yeah.
It's
fun. Magical.
And that's the thing. Is like, so whenever you're like, what was your first impression of him? As like charming, charismatic, but then very, very quickly turns into, oh, he's like a whimsical.
Right.
He's
Willy Wonka-esque.
He just comes around rizzing up everybody. He's gonna come around. I lift you up. We fly around. He's like, oh, you're such a natural.
Here's a bakery. Go see his sister.
Yeah. And then of course he drops her off on the balcony and is like, make sure to wait around a little while before. Kind of. He's
keep put on the.
What is the word I'm looking for? Whenever you're kind of mysterious, illustrious, like you're kind of, or like that kind of like there's a term I'm looking for where like you're kind of like hard to get and kind of like you're a little bit elusive. There you go. He's a bit elusive. He kind of drops shop and is like, hey toots, I got you. He makes sure to hide and then just disappears.
Right.
And she's like,
jumps off a building and is nowhere to be seen.
Right.
After.
And then I love the fact that like everyone downstairs is like, hey, your sister's upstairs on the balcony.
Right.
She
apparently
floated in there, and Sophie's still kind of in shock.
Right.
So her sister's
left in disbelief.
Her sister comes up here and is like, "Hey,
what the fuck just happened? Everyone's saying you floated in onto the balcony."
And she's
like, "Oh shit, that actually happened."
Yeah, Chelsea's like, "That actually was real." That's what I'm talking about. He like comes in, is like, "Hey, I got you," and then disappears. And everyone's
Watch this.
Everyone's like, "Damn, I'm kind of rizzed up right now. I'm kind of falling for Howl, man."
Right.
He's so pretty, and he dropped me off as we were flying around. He swooped me off my feet, literally.
You'll never believe this.
Yeah, exactly.
This crazy blonde twink came and literally swept me off my feet.
Right, and said a bunch of nice things to me before he gave me a kiss goodbye. But anyways.
Jesus.
So anyways. And of course, they ended up going back downstairs, and, her sister tries to, like, talk some sense into her. It's like, don't get, that's what Howl does.
In the hat shop.
That's what Howl does too.
Motherfucker could have taken your heart.
Exactly. And I think that now knowing what I know about the film, but the fact that like you sacrificing your heart to like a demon or whatever is like kind of or sacrificing a part of yourself to a demon is like a key principle of the movie. At first, I thought that they were talking like a romantic way of like, he's probably, he's a wizard. And that's what he does to pretty girls. Is, he takes their hearts, and it's like, oh, he's
he means like he's literally going to rip that.
But that's what I'm saying. But I think she means that like don't trust the wizard because like he may actually like sell your soul to like a devil or whatever. So for me, I thought it was still kind of like kind of still fun and,
Right.
kind of carefree, where it's like, he swept me off my feet and stole my heart, I tell you, and I love him now.
Right.
But anyways, so she ends up going back to the hat shop, and this bitch.
Oh, yeah. The Witch of the Waste.
The Witch of the Waste. I mean,
Rotund.
Grotesque.
A walking blob.
Not even just in physical form.
Mm-hmm.
She may be coming across as a bit, unattractive physically, but
Right.
like the personality is what I mean by repulsive.
Oh,
and
yeah.
just slimy and scummy and just,
Perpetually on a high horse.
yeah.
Holier than thou.
She apparently is the one that sent out the goop men after him.
Right. She's been hot on Howl's trail trying to snatch up that heart.
Right.
Because they got history.
Of course. She ends up coming back into the shop or whatever, and
Like, I know that owly bitch has been in here.
yeah.
Where'd he go?
Where yet?
Also, your hat shop sucks.
Yay. She comes in here and is like,
Just
"This is
immediately
tacky.
starts insulting.
This shit's tacky."
Right.
And the shop's closed. Shop's closed. She locked the door, and of course, this witch, literally witch. She's
Commits a 211.
She's a bitch too.
Yeah.
But she's an actual witch. Well, she's able to unlock the door and let herself in. She's like, "These hats are tacky. This whole shop's tacky. And the tackiest thing around here is you."
Look at you.
And I was like, "Oh, damn.
Disgraceful.
Wow, what a bitch."
Yeah.
And of course, and I would say Sophie took it like a champ. She's like,
Right.
"All
It's
right,
like,
lady."
get the fuck out of here.
She was like, "Shop's
Get out of my
closed.
shop.
If you ain't got nothing nice to say, you can go ahead and leave."
Right. See you later.
And then of course she like walks behind her, opens the door, and says, "The door's this way, ma'am." And I was like, "Damn!"
Oh, Jesus.
And I was like, because I mean, at that point, that's all you can say. It's
Right.
like, you could get out, right?
Excuse you?
Yeah, right.
I don't think so.
Right.
So, of course.
And I like that this movie also at this point in time like sets her up to kind of feel like the main antagonist, like the big bad is what she feels like. Then very quickly knocks her down a few pegs.
Yeah. Definitely.
And then for the rest of the film is just at rock bottom, I think.
Yeah.
Personally speaking.
She becomes a member of the main group.
Which I find interesting and also a great plot development.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, we'll get there in a second.
Yeah.
As she like ethereally passes through her, she's like, send that message to Howl.
Give him my regards.
And of course, we're like, and she says I'm going to curse briefly.
Right.
And
Can't
we're like,
tell anybody about it.
and we're like, okay, holy shit, what does that mean?
Yeah. And as the door closes, we just see a still shot of her just motionless in the shop.
Like hunched over.
Yeah. And as she gets up, we notice that she is an old maid.
Yeah. But a wee old
ancient,
lady.
Yeah.
And of course, and I love it because the next few sequences feels what is very natural.
Yeah.
Is she like walks over the mirror and is like, "Oh my God, this is crazy."
It's me.
And then tries to go walk behind the counter.
Yeah.
Tries to potentially go walk into the house, and then goes like, "There's no way," and then goes like to walk back over.
I gotta make sure.
Walks back over to the mirror and is like, "There's, I don't. This can't be real." And then proceeds to like walk outside.
A panic attack.
Yeah,
pacing back and forth.
Walks outside, and is like, I don't understand what's going on. And then tries to go walk back inside, but then promptly walks back outside and says, I just got to go to sleep and
God only knows how long that lasted.
Right. But it felt chaotic, but in a very don't blame you.
Yeah.
Don't blame you.
Shit.
All of a sudden you look in the mirror and you're like, damn, I'm 80 something years old.
I'm in my fucking 80s,
and you're like,
bro.
I'm 70 plus years from where I was.
I'm in my platinum years.
Yeah. And you're like, you walk up and you're like, there ain't no way.
Nah. Shit's rigged.
Yeah. I've been cased.
I'm geriatric now.
I've been bamboozled.
I have the greatest urge to tell a child to get off my law.
Oh, man.
Oh, God, it's my worst nightmare.
Where's my crocheting needles?
I have to sew.
Oh, man. Oh, that's so funny. But anyways, the next day comes and she's like, I gotta I
gotta get the fuck out of here. I gotta find my sister.
I gotta go on a mission. And so she goes off to she gathers up some food, and of course, tries to go outside the town.
A little cross county trip,
right? And I
think to get in touch with family.
I love that. I love everyone's like their care for her.
Mm-hmm.
She's obviously an older lady,
right?
And so
show the appropriate amount of concern,
right. They're like, she's like walking down steps, and this like younger gentleman is like, "You need some help?" And she's like, "No, I'm fine, but thanks for asking."
Right.
And then, of course, she gets out in the outskirts of town, and this guy's like, "Hey, lady, ain't nothing out there except for witches and wizards."
She's like, "Oh, whatever, thanks anyway."
I think she says, "I'll take that into consideration."
Right, I'll keep it in mind.
All right. I mean, don't say I didn't warn you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, so she ends up like making it out there, and then I love that like as she's sitting down like on this outlook, like looking over the town that she just left. She looks over at this bush and has one of those.
Spies a cool stick.
I'm telling you, has the most dude hell yeah moment.
Yeah.
She like looked over and was like, hell yeah.
Shit.
I could use that as a walking stick. That's a good looking stick.
Oh man.
But it's stuck into a bush. And so she ends up like trying to get this stick out of a bush. And lo and behold,
turnip head.
And I love that this character is silent, and it is a scarecrow. It's got some flowing pants and like a jacket.
Gloves.
It's got some gloves on. It's got a little top hat with a busted top on it. It's kind of opened up,
right?
But it's got a big turnip as its head with a big smile like painted on it. And I love that like this character, because it is a character. This character is silent but bounces around, and so she's like, "Hey, you must have a curse on you too."
Right. Stay away from me. I've had enough of that shit.
Yeah, I don't want none. I don't want what you got. But I love that just like with Godzilla, I love to put voices to characters that don't have them, or I love to like make a characteristic for a character. And I remember the first time that we watched this film, I voiced that character as if it was like an HK assassin droid. It was like,
oh god!
Like I remember talking about it and saying like, I remember. For those of you who don't know, in Star Wars, like the pre stuff called the Old Republic era, there are these assassin droids, which are the HK units, and in the like Knights of the Old Republic game, there's a companion you get called HK-47,
the greatest,
and he is
in that entire game.
He is comedic in the fact that like he's a robot and comes across very sterile,
right?
But obviously is an assassin droid, and
enjoys
I think
what he does.
And I think that in The Mandalorian, the IG unit that they had did a really good job of kind of representing that same feeling in a certain way, which I think was really fun, and I love that. But every time that kind of droid talks in that universe, it
prefaces with tone, and like intent.
So if it is a happy statement or something, it'll say exclamation, "I love this,"
right? Or defiant statement.
There
is nothing you can do to me.
Right. And it's like those kind of things where it's like usually it will preface the sentence with a word of like what its intentions are, and I love that. And I remember watching this film the first time, I had said it like that. I was like, question, and I would say something weird like that as if it was a droid or whatever.
Yeah. But
in this one, I didn't ham it up too much, and I was kind of I was watching the movie and enjoying it. But I still kind of like I used this character more.
The thought was there.
Oh, right. I still kind of had that same vibe of like, I am here to serve.
Right.
And of course, she's like,
your wish is my command.
Madam, I'm here. And she's like,
I fetched you a cake.
Exactly. She's like, I needed a walking stick, whatever. She's like, walks away, whatever. He bounces
and he just
off.
comes right back with one.
Exactly. And of course, it's like, Madam, item retrieved.
Right.
And it's like, oh, shit, okay.
Your cane.
She's like, well, while you're at it, go find me a place, go find me some shelter.
Right, a place to stay. That's another one of my favorite lines from her is like, I'm fatter than ever and the wind still blows right through me.
Yeah, it's so good. The dialogue in this film is really good.
Oh, yeah.
But then she's like, go find me some shelter. And I was like, mission accepted.
Right.
And he just goes bouncing off. And of course, she's like, that should keep him busy for a while. Yeah, you got it, boss. And then lo and behold, he comes bouncing back around with Howl's castle. And she's like, what the hell is this?
The first hint would have been the fact that he came back with a cane.
Yeah.
Just out in the middle of nowhere, in the wastes.
Made it happen.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So you know something's up. This thing is able to just get shit done.
Right. And you're like, all right.
Yeah. Like, and so he comes back, he's like, here you go.
Yep.
And she's just like, what the fuck are you thinking?
Yeah.
So
that's what it is.
She hitches a ride, makes it inside.
Yep.
And encounters Calcifer,
the
fire demon.
I love Calcifer, dude.
He's one of the best parts of this film.
I love the voice actor's like little accent that he puts on him.
Yeah.
I know we joke around with this same kind of voice in a way.
Mm-hmm. But that's just what he sounds like.
You know, this, what am I talking about? Come on. That's the kind of like the joking voice that I put on a lot of characters, even though they don't actually have that. But that's what Calcifer sounds like.
Yeah. That's just how he is.
Yeah. And a little bit more toned down, but he still kind of has that like, what are you talking about?
Mm-hmm. Especially if he's in distress.
Yeah, right. Help.
Right. Oh, man.
Howl, she tried to kill me. She tried to smother me, I tell you.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's good.
But anyways, so she ends up like, shacking up at that place, kind of falling asleep.
Striking a deal.
Right. Which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this whole, it has like this like rundown alchemy shop kind of vibe, and it's like really old, dirtied up and stuff like that. And then she ends up kind of making a deal with Calcifer. This little, by the way, he's a fire demon, so he's in the fireplace, in the hearth. And she keeps like throwing logs on him, and I love like he kind of catches them and like kind of like holds on to them like they're like a raft, like they're like as a life raft. Mm-hmm. So he'll kind of like climb up on it. And he's like, well, and he's kind of chilling there on it.
He just immediately knows that she's got a curse on her,
right?
And he's like, hey.
I got a case. You got a case.
Right. Let's work out a deal here. If you can figure out how to break the one on me, I'll go ahead and take care of the one on you. How about that? Huh?
You know how it goes.
Right. So I'm sure she only agrees because she's dozing off and isn't thinking straight.
Right.
But she sticks to it.
Oh yeah.
Like she uses it as a bargaining chip later on, once Howl finds out that she's stowed away.
Right.
But yeah. I love how this castle works.
Yeah. I think it's such a cool premise.
Yeah. It's just got different doorways that it can set up to just go to one side of the country to another.
Right. So how there's like in the front door that you like lead into the place, there's like a little color dial on the wall. Mm-hmm. And there is a doorknob above the actual doorknob.
Right.
So whenever you change the doorknob, the little circle above that, let's just say the portal doorknob. Whenever you change the portal doorknob, the little circle above it will change colors, and of course that color wheel will shift and like boom, flash a little bit, and of course you're in a different area. Mm-hmm. And so he has like two different magic shops.
Right. One of them's on like a harbor. Right. This like seaside city, and the other is just in the royal capital of the country.
So the green one is the moving castle itself. Mm-hmm. The black one we don't know about, and I'm assuming that one goes to like a war zone or like door. I think because there is a war going on, and we don't know what's going on. But whenever he usually shifts to that one, he like flies out, and whenever he does, he's like there's like fire in the background. Which every time we see that fire is insinuating like the bombs falling and like all this kind of like the airships and things.
Right.
So if I was to guess, that's where he goes off to like, go on the front lines to kind of push back at this kind of war, quote unquote, that's going on. Yeah. But again, it's, Markle doesn't know where that goes.
Right. Nobody does except for him.
Master Howl only knows where that one goes. We don't know about that. And then we got blue. I think like I said, blue, and then was it red? I think it's the other one. How it go to the two different shops. What was the name of the first one? The Grand Wizard
Jenkins.
Grand Wizard Jenkins. Yeah. I love that. Mm-hmm. And then of course the same thing with Pendragon, Wizard Pendragon. I don't know what the name of the shop is for that one, but on the name above the door it says the Great Wizard Jenkins. Mm-hmm. And so yeah. But our boy, he's like there's like a young boy who's like a sorcerer's apprentice kind of character. Yeah. His name's Markle, and he is
A scrappy young lad.
Yeah, a scrappy young lad, and he has like this kind of blue cloak that he puts on, and he kind of covers it up with a hood and gives himself a big long beard,
Right.
And that's his disguise.
Immediately old man,
Yeah.
but still the voice of a child trying to sound like an old man.
Exactly.
That somehow no one sees through.
Oh, well, because I mean, like if you look at him, like his skin looks older.
Right.
He's got a whole beard. He's like, well, yeah, I'm just,
Right. It's got to be.
I'm not gonna question it.
Yeah. It's a wizard's apprentice. What can I?
Right. He gives me the potions. I give him the money, and then that's all it.
Yeah.
That's all it takes.
Man's running a business.
Right. I don't gotta question nothing. He gives me the stuff. But anyways, so the door we're referring to has different settings that it can change different locations. And I was thinking about, and I love that they actually touched on it in the film. I was like, what happens to that location when the house isn't there?
Yeah.
And later on in the film, they end up like busting down the door, and it's just it's empty.
Right, there's nothing.
It's just a flat,
open area,
hollowed out building. But of course, whenever the thing switches over, of course, that's the actual building, the interior of the building. And I was like, that's fun, and I think it's really cool. You have this kind of like moving, because I think it adds to the quote unquote moving castle vibe more. Is it not only is it actually like a castle that's like an amalgamation of junk and pipes and metal, and
it is also able to occupy multiple spaces.
Exactly. Like the castle itself also moves locations to other places, which I think is so cool in multiple ways.
It's awesome.
But yeah.
Now, one thing I like to mention about the Ghibli films is that they somehow always manage to make the food look like the most appetizing shit you'll ever eat. Somehow, even in this sty of a castle, quote unquote, the food is still good looking.
Because I mean, at that point, you can't have bad looking food. I mean, obviously, I mean, you got to have. Especially if you're making money and you're running a business out of it, like you got to have some at least decent food.
Oh yeah,
it may not be stored very well, but there's some good food.
It's just stacked all haphazardly in front of the
pantry. She pulls out
spider webs and cobwebs everywhere.
Yeah, she pulls out this quote unquote strip of bacon, and it is a slab of pork,
a full on slab.
She's holding it like it's a fistful from one end, and it's like
the size, the length of a ruler.
I want you to hold out your forearm, and it was every bit about as big as your forearm. I don't care how big or small you are. It was a slab of meat, and I was like, damn,
I need that kind of bacon.
I don't know what kind of bacon that is, but
I will not consider my life worth lived without that kind of bacon. At least once.
I want two of them.
Right.
That's what I like.
Thick pig bacon.
Fig. So yeah, it's
Do we have bacon?
No, not in the house right now. I got eggs. I got eggs, but no bacon.
Damn it. You want to make us some eggs after this?
Oh, I could.
Shit.
I'm down. Gosh, where was I at? So as we progress through some more, kind of get through some of the kind of she ends up becoming the housekeeper basically, and that's kind of her job, and so she kind of cleans up the house and makes it really presentable.
Oh
may
yeah,
I add. And
cleans it up real good.
Right, and there's kind of this this back and forth between Howl and her, where he doesn't know who she really is yet, but then at a certain point he ends up finding out where she's sleeping, and then I think sees her. And then I think it clicks for him kind of who she is a little bit.
I feel like he knew from the start.
Okay.
Because he wouldn't have just shown up out of nowhere for her specifically in that alleyway
if
he didn't know.
That's a cool premise I didn't think about.
Yeah.
Well, I was talking about like whenever she's an old lady in the house and he's asking like, who are you and why are you here kind of thing. And she's like, I'm Sophie, and that kind of stuff. And he's like, all right.
Yeah. Sure.
All right. So
I guess so.
Maybe you're right. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't reading the character very correctly, but anyways, it's cool.
Yeah.
So
throughout the film,
yes,
we hear tell of a missing prince of a neighboring kingdom.
Yeah.
Which is supposedly the catalyst for this entire conflict.
Right.
Now, we come back to that. Yeah. We find out more about that as the film progresses. But because of the conflict, things start ramping up like real quick.
Right.
Howl gets summoned.
Aggressively.
Yeah. For both of his aliases to report to the royal capital for duty.
Right.
And his assignment, which of course he does not want to do.
Yeah.
Specifically because of Madame Solomon.
Yeah.
So, yeah, bit of a tricky situation
And I
he's
think
gotten himself into.
there's also like there's an oath that he took as like a wizard of some kind,
right
where,
whenever he started his apprenticeship.
Meaning that if like the castle was to call upon him, like it is
He
his
must
obligation to appear. So that is the kind of kicking off point for the next step of the film, where he doesn't want to go see Solomon, but he knows that he has to, and so he's like, "What if you go, Sophie, instead, as like my mom,
right?
And then tell
Just
her how much of a coward I am.
That I ain't nothing anymore.
I ain't got no shit."
Right.
And this is where we get another glimpse into the Witch of the Wastes.
Oh God!
And
he elaborates a bit, saying that she was once a very beautiful woman.
Right.
So he decided to pursue her.
Yep.
But upon finding out her true nature and how vile she was, he got the fuck out of Dodge.
Right. And she was like, "But I want his heart.
Give me that beater. I swear to Christ."
Beater.
Yeah.
Give me your beater.
Yeah,
Like,
so
what?
he's been running scared ever since.
Right.
And now he's got to report to the Capitol.
Right.
Meet his old master.
Yeah. And that's kind of the next crazy point. Well, let me talk about this for a second. So as Sophie is going to the Capitol on his behalf, he gives her a ring, which the ring is supposed to be like, he doesn't elaborate, but he's like, they'll make sure you get out of there safe.
Guarantees your safe return.
And she's like, all right, how come I feel like this is not going to be good?
Right.
She ends up getting to the Capitol and ends up running into the goop men, the goop men with the bitch.
Yeah.
And she's in her little cart, and of course, as they kind of get into like this little courtyard area, she hits like these like wards on the ground, and it like deactivates her goop men instantly. Right. They like slump over or whatever, and she's like, "What the hell's happening?" And they drop the carrier that she's in, and of course, like
"Sorry, lady, you gotta hoof it."
There's this guard is like, "Hey yo, no vehicles beyond that point.
Right, work those trunks.
You gotta walk." And she's like, "I can't believe they're making me go up these stairs." And then, of course, Sophie's still an old lady, and there's this dog that she ends up like kind of tagging along. What? Heen.
Yeah.
She thinks that because Howl said that he was going to be watching after her and protecting her like in a disguise, and the dog was like following after her and kind of being sus.
Right.
She's like,
she assumes that that's him.
Right. And she's like, "You couldn't have chose a better disguise than that." And of course, like the dog's like, and that's all it does.
That's its sole form of communication.
Right.
It doesn't bark. It just
no. And you're like,
wheeze.
All right, cool. And so obviously, and I don't blame her because again, it had me fooled.
All right.
So she ends up
What the fuck else am I supposed to think?
The dog can't get up the stairs. So she's like dragging the stairs. And she's like, "Howl, why are you so heavy?" And of course, it's not Howl. But then
spy dog,
dude,
of course, loaded with cameras.
The Witch of the Waste is like, melting. Bruh, this bitch is like, she is halfway up these stairs.
Right.
And
has suffered multiple heat strokes.
She is like, she's huffing and puffing, and like the way in which the animation, most Ghibli films do this, but they portray water as so thick.
Yeah,
it's so thick, and like the way in which it flows is like it just feels so big for some reason.
Big drops.
She's like there's a couple times where the camera like snap cuts over to her, and like there is just so much water.
She's like a fountain.
And she's like, Jesus. I'm like, damn, bitch, what's going on?
And oh my God, dude, the sass.
Oh, so much sass. She's like, but then it also hammers home a little bit about, this is what I mean by knocking down the witch a few pegs.
Oh yeah,
is that
a few flights
of stairs, if you will. They're talking mad shit. She's like, "You should help me out," like the witches, and of course,
come again, bitch.
Yeah, right. Help you out.
Excuse you.
You cursed me, and now I'm an old lady, and I
can't do shit.
I'm having my own problems.
Maybe if I was younger, I might be able to give you a hand.
And of course, they had a little tiff before they reached the stairs, and she was like, she kind of was playing, a little bit. At first, I thought she was playing a bit coy, where she's like, "I can't change the curse back. I only put curses on people," and it kind of comes across as like, "Oh, you just being a bitch, or are you being?" But no, on the stairs,
I guess you better get to reading. Then.
Exactly right. But no, on the staircase, she's like, and she's like, "Well, if you could change me back, that'd be nice." And she's like, "I told you, I don't know how." And you're like, "Oh, so she really doesn't know how. And you're like, oh, so you're
right. This isn't just pettiness. You're just stupid.
You're just full of crap.
Right.
Is what it is. You're just full of shit.
Yeah.
And you're also dying of heat stroke.
Right. And you're stupid.
And you're stupid.
And ugly.
Bitch. So anyways, yeah.
Of course, Sophie isn't one to be overtly petty. Like, she throws a few jabs here and there just to give her just desserts. But
right.
as she goes along, she actually starts to feel sorry for her. And it's like, how about one of you guards just, like, go and help her up the stairs? She was invited here.
And the steward there is like
I'm strictly forbidden to offer such assistance.
Right. I think he said I'm expressly. I forgot what he said. He was like, I have specific instructions to not do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn.
All right.
Cool. Makes sense now.
Fuck you too.
Because the whole way up the staircase, there's guards just lying probably every 5 steps, and they're just watching this whole altercation happen. And I was like, damn.
Not a peep.
To be honest, same.
Yep.
I'd be like, I don't know what the hell's going on here.
Okay,
I don't know what's happening here. So they both get inside. Sophie is kind of on, got her wits about her. But then the witch,
as soon as she spies a chair, it's like,
mine!
It's mine!
just runs over there and sits down, and I mean, just
deflates. Like a balloon.
That's the best way of putting it. Just, I mean, just no neck. It's just all shoulders. All folds and shoulders.
Morbidly obese.
Yeah, morbidly obese. And then as Sophie gets escorted away to Solomon's chambers.
Right. By the king's appointed twinks.
Oh, God. Which is also kind of weird because they all look the same. So it's like, I don't know.
I'm sure they're all like apprentices of Solomon, if not like clones
I thought they're just
of some sort.
I think they're just body doubles.
Right.
So anyways, as the witch is all slumped over, like these curtains get opened and these light bulbs turn on.
The biggest bulbs you ever did see.
Biggest bulbs, you know what I mean?
Biggest bulbs.
Whoa, hey, chill. You're clipping the mic. Damn.
Oh, shit.
But to bust the microphones with that. I've never seen him inflate his cheeks so much. Oh, man.
I mean, they were. They're fucking huge.
Yes, they were.
And as soon as they start shining, she starts like visibly recoiling.
Like the life's being sucked out of her.
Right, and then we see these figures rise from the ground and form a little rosy ring around Rosie.
Yeah, dancing around her, and you're like, damn, this shit's going wild. And of course,
get rosied, Kupo.
Exactly. Get wrecked, Kupo.
Right. Fuck you, Kupo.
So as it smash cuts, as that's happening, it smash cuts over to like this like beautiful verdant garden. It's like full of trees, and it's like this like greenhouse kind of situation.
So you already know something's up.
Oh yeah, and you're getting escorted into this big room, and you're like, damn, what is going on in that other room?
See some officials chatting with Solomon.
Yeah,
in her fancy ass wheelchair.
Right.
And as soon as they walk away, she offers a seat to Sophie.
Yes.
Starts off very cordial.
Right.
Nothing malicious from the sound of it. But as soon as she starts digging into Howl, that's when Sophie snaps and is like,
hey,
if he doesn't shape up, I'm going to turn him into a fucking balloon, a whoopee cushion like this bitch right here.
Yeah, and then wheels her in.
Yeah, one of her devils just wheels her in on a cart.
Squeaking.
Yeah.
Right.
And she is
like ghastly.
Yes.
You thought she was bad before. I was like, bruh, you look like a raisin.
A mere scrap of the human she once was.
Why your nose looking like that?
Yeah.
The thing is,
that
like,
she looks like an eggplant, bro.
She has like Squidward be jealous. she has these henchmen that are slop monsters that like have these kind of like Squidward-esque noses that aren't as pronounced, but like they just kind of that are big and they kind of fold.
Droop.
They droop like that.
Yeah.
They droop like that, you know what I mean? I got that droop.
It's droop or drag.
I'm swimming.
They
bitch.
sagging.
They be sagging their noses.
Jesus.
Anyways, in this new form, she has like the pretty lashes that she used to have are like gone, and she's got these very circular eyes,
very sunken in,
that don't have like proper eyelids almost. So she just has like these like
She's just all wide-eyed.
These like dead-looking eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And at first, I thought they just wielded her corpse. And I was like,
Right.
damn.
Yo, they fucking killed her.
They just straight up killed her. They're just gonna just scooted in here like, don't mind this.
Right. This is your example.
This
for
is
the,
your example.
For the afternoon.
Just please, everyone, turn to Exhibit A.
Right.
This raisin of a woman.
Would you care for a before and after?
Exactly. You know the before, but this is the after. And this will
Right.
happen to you too, if you don't side with me.
True.
But anyways, so, but she has like a saggy nose like that now, and just has like, I mean, so many wrinkles, and like her teeth are all messed up, and like I said, her eyes are like open and round,
And
like,
Sophie's
you can
what
see.
the hell did you do?
What did you do to her?
I just made her to the age she actually is, bitch.
Yep, I took away all her I took all the magic away from her, and it's
nothing left.
oh, so we again
The burlap sack you see before you
yeah.
is still the same person, just
I thought for a hot
reduced.
minute you were going to say something else. You said burlap sack. I thought you were going to say ball sack. And I was like, damn.
I mean, shit, that wouldn't be far off either.
So the thing is, like, the reason why I'm saying all this is because, like, you think that the Witch of the Waste is the big bad.
Right, but no.
And at this moment, you're like, ooh, that's a small
She ain't
fish.
nothing.
That's the little fish, and Solomon's the big fish.
Oh, yeah. You're staring
And-
at the Grand Master.
Right. And then she starts talking about the fact that Howl was one of her apprentices and was like
Right.
the most, promising and all that kind of stuff.
Made a
And,
pact with a demon that cost his heart. And
Exactly.
Never returned to
And then-
complete his training.
and we know that Calcifer is a demon and, of
Right.
course, has a pact with Howl. So we're like, okay, so we're assuming that Calcifer is the demon that
Right.
apparently made some sort of pact with him or whatever. So again, we're starting to put some pieces together and things like that. But, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, then Howl appears.
Well,
in disguise.
Well, we think it's the king, apparently.
Yeah.
Because she keeps referring to him as Your Highness. And, of course, it's this guy with this, like, auburn mustache.
Right. Super long handlebar.
Yeah. And it kind of comes in a little bit cocky and like, ha-ha.
Right. Comes in all serious.
But then says some, like, kind of important things where he's like, I think we need to stop all this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we need to start sending out any more wizards about this. 'Cause
Right.
This is kind of ridiculous.
And Solomon's just like, you're so eloquent today.
Yeah, right.
Right. And then the actual king
Yeah.
comes in and is like, Solomon!
Hey!
Just whipped up a new battle plan.
Yeah,
Check this
yeah.
shit out.
I need to sit down everybody.
And he sees Howl and is like, oh, damn. That's the best one yet. Keep it up. And then he just walks away to meet with his generals.
And I love that, like,
And then there's just dead silence. And it's just like, shit.
because like the part that's funny is the fact that she refers to this double as Your Highness. She's like, oh yes, Your Highness. Yeah,
Right,
you're right. That's a great.
she just
so how
plays along.
eloquent. And then of course, and then as the real one walks in there, and he like, keep it up, and walks away. She's like, yes, Your Highness. And then
Right.
it's just,
Now, don't you feel silly?
yeah,
Right. Oh, man.
yeah. And it's
So
like, all
good.
right. And of course, he transforms back into himself, and then it's like,
Right. I'm out this bitch. See you later.
gotcha, fool.
But not before they begin the ring again.
The ring again?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
The ring around the rosy.
Oh, I got you. I was like, I'm confused.
The fucking seance.
I thought,
bro.
I thought it was like the ring, like the guidance ring that she has on her
No.
finger. I was like, that's not for a little bit, but
Not the death one.
not the other one.
Right. So
Ring around your ass.
she puts them in this illusion
Right.
and starts to get a hold of Howl.
There is one thing I've noticed about this movie is there's a lot of like trippy,
Yeah.
like reality bending stuff that I was like, magic,
Wizardry.
But I'm like, it wraps my head in a weird way of like space
Yeah.
and time and all that kind of stuff where it's like, oh, I get lost sometimes and it's a bit trippy too. Where I was like, but it's awesome and I love it. But I'm at the same time, I'm like, oh, this is
Good stuff.
yeah. They're like flying above the town as these
Right.
things are like ring around the rosium or whatever.
It's just like, don't look down.
Don't look down.
Whatever you do.
And of course, like she's like looking around, like what's happening?
Yeah.
And of course,
The
he's
fuck
just
is
like
this?
he's like locking eyes with Solomon, not changing.
But then the change starts.
Right.
The spell starts to get to him and he starts to morph.
Yeah.
Mighty Morphin.
Mighty Morphin. Bird time.
Right. So, of course, it's all a trap just to get him out of sorts. and
Right.
then she rears up with her cane that turns into a fucking laser spear.
Yeah.
It's about to skewer the bastard.
The spear of Longinus.
Right. But thankfully, Sophie's able to snap him out of it, and they make a quick escape.
Right.
Using one of these weird little fluttered planes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What are they called in Dune? The new Dune movie? I can't remember. Oh, shit.
I don't know. I haven't seen the new one yet.
There's a interesting plane / helicopter thing that's got like 4 wings like a dragonfly, and it flies off like that. Ornithocopter. I think it's what it's called.
Damn.
Holy shit! I can't. I pulled that out of the deep,
abyss.
the deepest recluses of my mind.
Oh man. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna just
Ain't never heard of it.
Ornithocopter.
Yeah, what does this thing look like?
Ornithocopter. Oh, this actually may be like a real life thing too.
Are you for real?
Or like
Ornithocopter real?
Yeah,
Big if true.
Or big if true.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh, that thing looks cool.
Yeah, and it like flutters its wings.
Yeah.
And in the movie, apparently, I've seen like clips of it. It sounds really cool too.
Damn.
It has a cool 'cause obviously it has it's like fluttering wings.
Right.
It like combines the sound of like a helicopter and other stuff. Anyway,
That's cool.
sorry.
Yeah,
Whenever I saw these things that has that vibe where like they hop on like this kind of like scooter looking thing, and
a lot of the airships have that same kind of like wing motif.
Yeah,
which I really
flapping
like.
wings.
Mm-hmm. Super cool. It's almost makes them like organic in a way.
Yeah, which is cool.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so as this to kind of round this out, because we've been kind of really delving into this movie.
Yeah,
we've nitty gritty details.
Right, a little bit.
The crazy thing about this film for me is like it gets like there's so many levels to a lot of the things that are going on, and I love the way that it kind of like slowly gives you information and like kind of pieces to the puzzle that you all get to put together. I love that it just doesn't give it to you all at once, and in so many movies nowadays, it just how do you word this? Something that I love in movies is when they show and don't tell.
Oh yeah.
And I love that this movie I think does that pretty well.
Yeah,
of like giving you this, saying this little bit, showing this, and of course you kind of piece it all together of like, oh, so his demon potentially has his heart because that whole thing happens, and you know we don't get answers to everything immediately, but then it kind of gets given to you later, or you can kind of
whenever Sophie turns into an abyss walker.
Right. You're like, okay, got it.
Right.
But I love that because I think a lot of movies nowadays they just tell you, don't show you through some of that stuff, and kind of alleviates
exposition heavy.
It leaves the kind of mystery of it all. Which I've said this before about video games and stuff. Sometimes I don't like when it's just like solely up to interpretation.
Right.
Because then I'm like, I do kind of like to have like at least an idea.
Just a little bit of context.
Right. Or again, some lore to kind of flush out what makes this what it is. And I think this movie does that pretty well.
Oh yeah.
Of the kind of show a little bit here, show a little bit there, and of course characters that kind of, like I said, and it has an unorthodox love story, in my personal opinion.
Oh yeah.
Because I think, from the get-go, I think that Sophie, at the very least, is infatuated with him. Maybe not in love with him, but she is interested in him. And especially because she lives a simple life as a hat maker.
Right.
And her sister even says, like, you don't need to be in the hat-making business forever.
Think over yourself for once.
Right.
You want to do.
Exactly. And the fact that she kind of gets swept away in Howl's moving castle with Markle and with Calcifer and the whole and eventually what happens, her new family, but then also kind of falls for Howl because of his his edginess a little bit, and his
he's a fucking drama queen.
I mean,
that's how he starts.
Right.
He gets better though.
He does, and I love that.
I give up. I see no point in living if I can't be beautiful.
Right. And he turns into a slime monster.
Fucking goop boy.
I love that. She comes back in and she's like, and then Marco's like, "Is he dead?" And she's like, "No, he's just throwing a tantrum."
Right. I saw him do this once when a girl dumped him.
Yep. Right. But anyways, I like the fact that this is like I wouldn't call this romance, but like it has this slow burn where she ends up, bit by bit, kind of sees the better side of him, and then roughs out or smooths out some of his rougher edges whenever it comes to his decision making. He's I think even Solomon says that he's selfish and kind of does things for himself,
cowardly.
But then she even stands up for him in that moment as well, being like, no, he just wants to
been great.
He just wants to be free. And I see now why he doesn't want to come back here and why he's scared to come back here.
Yes, because you, bitch.
Because you're just gonna make up another one of the one of the fleet.
Yeah,
faceless mob you're gonna use for war. And it's like, oh yeah,
That ain't it.
That ain't it, Chief. So, anyways, so like I said, like as the movie progresses and she sees that more real side of him, and then I think she also kind of warms up his cold heart a little bit. And then I think he starts to care. And then he even says it towards the very end whenever the bobs are being dropped on the hat shop and that whole thing, or that whole area of town and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, no, like I finally have something to fight for. I finally have something to protect.
I got to stand my ground now.
And I got to stand my ground now. And it's you. And it's like, oh, damn. This man actually cares.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay. And then at that point, and I love, you want to talk about storytelling. There is this curse on Sophie, and for the entire and where she's turned into an old lady.
Right. We
never get an explicit cure for this curse. Even the person that put it on her is like, I don't know how to remove it.
Right. I don't know what the.
I know how to put curses on things, and it's like, then what the hell, lady? Why?
Yeah.
So again, we never get this explicit cure for it, but
you can only guess that it's tied to her emotions somehow.
A little bit, and you can see whenever she's asleep that
it just reverts.
It reverts a little bit, and then whenever she, I think, feels optimistic and hopeful, especially about love and that love being received to her, and she is perceived as pretty or is perceived as being loved.
Yeah,
is when it changes. But then the second that she lets her own thoughts kind of come back in and she kind of beats herself down, she turns back into that the old lady version. And I that's what I'm talking about.
So good.
It's so good that again we don't have to. There's this. And this is where I may be reading far too into it, but this is my interpretation of it all after watching it and really kind of digging into it. In those moments where she's asleep and she's fully turned off, she has her brown hair and she's back to being her normal age.
Right.
And then whenever she wakes up and kind of locks back into being an old lady again and just right back
Lock
down.
in.
Yeah, she locks in hard and is old lady Sophie. But then there's these moments where you get to see the change happen slowly in the character. Where I mean, it almost like it's almost like a gradual shift where you don't fully realize it until you really pay attention. You're like, hey, yo, she's not an old hunched over lady anymore. And I think that's really cool because then it shows that kind of like she's allowing herself to be loved and to be development. She's allowing herself to be swept away a little bit and kind of
what she wants to do.
Right. And then there's that one moment where, especially towards the end of the film, where she started off as the old lady version, and as she's like shown this flower field and it's kind of like this secluded area that's a safe space for Howl, and she begins to feel that love and that freedom. She shifts slowly, and you get to see that change happen. But she still has her gray hair, but she's lively now, and it's like this looks young. And then she has the sinking feeling of, how come I get the feeling that you're going to leave?
Right, something's wrong here.
You're being really friendly and you're being really positive and you're really giving me a lot, because he like shifts the house over, gives her a room, and like shows her this
a complete
safe space.
Renovation.
And he says like, I just want to make sure you guys have a life that's set up that's great. And it's like,
and she's like, nah.
And cut
the crap.
Well, exactly. And again, I don't blame her because at that point, like again, especially someone like that doesn't really do that kind of stuff, and like, unless you're trying
unless it's like a drastic change.
You're subtly trying to tell me something without telling me something, and you're going to go off and try and fight in some war, and you're going to potentially get killed. But you want to make sure you're going to leave behind some good things for us, which I don't blame you. It's good, but I see behind what you're doing.
Yeah.
Your actions
don't try to play it.
Your
cool.
actions are saying one thing, but subconsciously you're telling me another thing. And so I'm like, I've been there. I get that. But the thing that I think is so interesting is in that moment where I believe she says something with the fact that I'll never be pretty, or I'll never be beautiful. Or she says something like that, and she has that self-doubt again, where she then allows herself to disconnect from that lively, that kind of like carefree.
Back to reality.
I mean, and because again, like I said, she's able to disconnect. She's able to allow that kind of like this love, this acceptance, and this joy and this happiness and carefreeness, and is this young version of herself again, and allows that curse to kind of get lifted.
Right.
But then all of a sudden, she just kind of like you said, snaps herself back to reality and turns back into an old lady and is like, you know what? It is what it is.
Right.
And it's like, and he's like, no, but you are beautiful. And she's like, you know what? I forget what she says in that moment. The last line she says,
a good thing about being old is that you don't have much left to lose.
Right. And it's like, why would you say that? But then one thing I think is awesome is that as the movie progresses because we're getting to the end.
Right.
And she, again, I think sees the value in the fact that she's the one that can really help save Howl and can really like push forward to be in that kind of light that he needs, and to like really help him through that, and kind of see that they kind of can help each other out in some way.
She and everybody else are the reason he's killing himself out there.
Exactly. And it's to really protect them and all that. And I think she can see her part and all that, and how much that she can help that. And I think she also, I didn't like the almost said the Wicked Witch of the West.
Ding dong, bitch. Your time's now.
I didn't like her initially.
Right. She was an asshole.
But as she got the life sucked out of her, the magic sucked out of her, and she's
mellowed out just a wee bit.
Mellowed out just a little bit. And I think
they actually have like a conversation.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There's this moment where, and she also, I think she's also kind of drummed up for laughs a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Because she has those wide eyes, and she's constantly just like looking out the window.
Right.
You know,
comes
and like
off as senile now.
Exactly. Comes across as
every now and then.
And she keeps saying, "Oh my, what a pretty fire!" And always comments on the fire as if she's crazy. But then later, but you talk about Chekhov's gun. You never place a gun to see without firing it.
Right.
That's one of those things where she plays into it or she keeps saying that, and it will be useful later.
Right.
But there's this moment where it's almost like she has this brief moment of lucidity, but that's not actually what it is. I think she just gets kind of wrapped up in her own crazy.
Right, yeah,
but
she's playing her own game.
She gets tucked into bed, and Sophie's about to walk out, and
she just says, "You're in love,"
and it's like,
and she's like,
"So
what?"
So Sophie turns around and is like, "Excuse me."
It's like, don't deny it. You've been sighing all day.
Yeah, even though because he hasn't been there at that time.
Right.
He's been gone for a little bit. And it's like, ooh, I see what you're doing.
And then she just goes back, sits down, and is like, "Have you ever been in love?" And she's like,
"Yeah,
oh, of course,
I still am."
Oh man,
and like what an interesting conversation.
Yeah,
but I think that's one of those turning moments where I think Sophie was able to realize the fact that she is also in love, and is then
twisted though
again
it may be.
But I think that's one of those stepping stones where that allows her character to then develop to that next level where the curse gets lifted a little bit more. And I think that kind of helps solidify the change that she makes kind of towards the end of the film.
Right.
But this kind of the fact that, like I said a little while ago in the earlier part of this conversation, when the Witch of the Wastes, when I said that it's interesting that she joins the crew and she's a part of the team now, because it adds an interesting dynamic that she still has her goals, but are not
this
fully
at once
known.
or possibly still dangerous individual.
Right. Even though she doesn't have magic, she still is infatuated.
A coveting beast.
Yes. And that shows up later whenever
Sophie convinces Calcifer to change locations and move the castle somewhere else.
Right.
So that Howl has an excuse to stop
right.
and look for them. But yeah, after that happens, whenever Sophie gives Calcifer, like, her ponytail.
Yeah.
It gives him, like, a big-ass boost.
He initially says, how about you give me a piece of your soul?
Right.
Or
your eyes.
Or your eyes. That's what he said, your eyes or
I
your
need
heart.
something of yours.
Right. And then and at that point, you're like, oh, now we're dealing with the devil.
Yeah.
Now we're really sacrificing something that's,
a pact has been made.
Yeah, or a pact is about to be made.
Yeah.
And so he's like, what about my hair? And he's like, fine. And
sure.
So, I mean, it doesn't even. I mean, he doesn't even ask a question.
Yeah, he just snips it right.
Yeah, the second he's like, how about my hair? And he's already grabs it and he's gobbling it up. Munching. I mean, then of course he blows up. Oh, he's like, he's superpowered now.
Mm-hmm.
And
after Sophie's like, dude, this is fucking amazing. You're
wild.
Fantastic. And then he's like, imagine what I could have done with your eyes or your heart.
Or your heart even.
And that's when the witch figures it out. Like, oh shit.
Yeah.
You're his fucking heart.
but doesn't make a big deal about it.
Right.
She's like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
I think I understand. And then as we're focusing on Sophie in that moment, and they're like kind of excited, and they're like moving around, you see
she just starts moving towards the hearth.
She turns around and starts moving over, and you're like, oh, damn it.
Yep.
Damn it,
there
damn
it goes.
We know what's happening here.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, obviously, Calcifer's magic was keeping all this, amalgamation of stuff together and moving.
So it starts falling apart immediately.
She grabs that shit. And of course, she's like, it's his heart. It's what I wanted. I wanted his heart.
And then she starts burning.
Yeah, which is wild.
Right. And Sophie just jumps right in, like, let that shit go. Yeah. You're going to die.
Right.
And then she
panics.
She grabs a bucket of water and douses the bitch.
Right.
Which, of course, also nearly puts out Calcifer.
Well, she's kind of been teasing that for a while.
Yeah.
But when she actually does it, it's like, oh, uh-oh.
Yeah. Whoops.
Yikes.
Damn. I might have just killed both of you.
And again, because of the fact that they're together, if Calcifer is to die or to get snuffed out, that means that...
Oh, yeah. He's down for the count.
Howl also gets killed.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Wild turn of events.
Yeah.
But then he ends up, like Dylan said, there's a point in time where as the whole thing is falling across, there's a bunch of chaos and all that stuff happens.
Mm-hmm.
The ring ends up pointing to a doorway. Sophie enters the doorway, and it's just this void.
The past.
It is the past, literally.
She goes the way of Artorias.
Yeah.
Traverses the abyss.
Right.
Unscathed.
And she sees a young Howl.
Mm-hmm.
Devouring this demon.
Yeah.
And then, of course, spitting up his heart, and it's Calcifer now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, oh, okay, interesting.
There we go. Now we know.
Yep. There's the beginning.
That's how it happened.
But then she gets this kind of weird, like, time travel sequence where she sees that she's in the past, and then she can call out to Howl.
Right.
And as she does, she's like, it's me, Sophie.
I know how to help you now. Come find me in the future.
Right.
And he does.
Right. And as she gets like spit back out of this like void door, there's just, I mean, he has gone like full bird though.
Oh yeah.
He's just like, I mean, this
big bird's just waiting outside the door.
The big black bird just sitting there. Just like moves away like the feathers. And he's just like
deadpan, like
he's not doing good.
I'm so tired. I'm having a heart attack.
I didn't do good.
Right.
And then she's like, oh, well, I forgot what she said. She's like, can you take me to Calcifer?
Mm-hmm.
and of course, like he like flies away.
Right.
And
with his one big leg.
Right. And then
they find the little platform with two legs just waddling across a mountain range. And he just collapses onto the thing. And
is he dead?
Right. This is one of my favorite moments where Sophie begs the witch to give the heart back, and she does.
Right.
It's so sweet.
It is. And it's just such a touching moment. Because at that point, like you're the one protecting and saving him.
Right.
The one like you probably really love and care about the most. And it's like, oh man. And at this point, and this is what I was talking about by like I said before, I may be reading too much into the story, but I think it may play into it a little bit, and this just may be my artistic brain going or whatever. But throughout this entire last part of the sequence, she is her younger self, but with gray hair.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like this kind of continuation of like the curse may still be there, but she has now like
accepted a chipper attitude,
overcome it
yeah,
in some way. But I also like to think a little bit is that gray hair is a sign that that she may be young again, and she may now have kind of beaten the curse, but she still has the wisdom of all those like struggles and trials that she went through.
Definitely.
And that's kind of what
she earned those wrinkles.
And she earned those gray hairs in her head. And it's like, oh, that's, I mean, like I said, it may not be, that's not explicitly said in the movie.
Right.
But that's what I take away from it, because she kind of keeps that gray hair throughout the end of the film.
Yeah.
So now he has his like original black hair, and then she has, you know, her gray hair now. And of course, he's like, wow.
The silver streaks.
He's like, your hair is, you know,
looks like starlight.
Yeah, like starlight. And it's like, so he is obviously infatuated with it, but like, but she, I think, has this kind of,
right. She's got a better sense of self.
Right. Because
so
of all that.
Self-deprecating anymore.
Of course. And that's what I'm saying. I think that's kind of that badge of like, you may have overcome it, but I think you still have that bit,
right?
Kind of show that you're, you learned something from it. You earned those gray hairs from you going through all this stuff and,
right.
And learning how to be, learning how to love yourself, which I think is awesome. And it's a great message. It's a great message for a film.
Good stuff.
It's good stuff. And like I said, it's a bit of a weird, kind of unconventional love story, where at the end of it, they do kind of live happily ever after with Markle and then Calcifer, even though
the witch,
even though
just chilling out on the back patio,
even though Calcifer ended up running off and had the chance to be free.
He comes back.
He comes back, and they were like, "You didn't have to come back." And he was like, "Well,
I missed you guys.
I kind of missed you guys, and it looks like it's gonna rain. So you know,
I think I'll stick around.
I'll stick around. You guys treated me okay there towards the end,
right? I almost died several times, but hey,
you know, but I'm here.
Whatever.
You know? And I'm free. You kept your promise. So at that point, it's like, hey, you know, and I love that. How fun is that?
Yeah.
So yeah, and they all kind of lived happily ever after.
They get a sick ass flying castle,
and come to find out, the Scarecrow is this missing prince. Turniphead.
Prince of the neighboring kingdom.
Did he say how he got cursed?
No, I don't think so. I think he just says that he had been cursed. And True Love's kiss was able to revert it.
Right. How fun.
Yeah. So everything worked out, thankfully.
Oh, right. He ends up taking a magic stick and flying off.
Right.
And then, of course, Solomon
pogoes his way to peace.
Yeah, right. Solomon ends up like looking at all that, and then she said the dog ends up like chiming back in with her,
right?
Which is kind of interesting. And she's like, "Where you been at?
You should have checked in like hours ago."
Right.
He's like, "Nah, bitch, check this shit out."
Yeah.
It's like, I'm sticking with these folks.
Yeah.
So.
And then she said, now, when she said traitor,
yeah,
I was guessing she was referring to her dog.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought too. Yeah. You traitor.
I
think she's like, okay, I guess we should.
The game is over.
I guess we should end this war.
Right.
How interesting. But yeah, they get a flying castle in the sky now.
Oh yeah,
having a fun time.
It's beautiful.
Happily ever after. I love it.
It's
a great film.
Oh yeah.
If you haven't had a chance to watch it, again, I mean,
you must.
The animation's also beautiful. Like the kind of the ricketiness of like the moving castle is kind of so good.
It's so cool.
Beautiful. It's great.
My favorite machine Hulk that I've ever seen.
Yeah, right. But yeah. Anything else you want to touch on?
No, I think that's about all for me.
Yeah. I think it's about all for me too.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody out there for tuning into the podcast. It's been really great to see everyone's contributions onto the show. Again, I've been hyping up this YouTube aspect of it because it's been really cool to see people's likes, to see people subscribing. It's been cool to read some comments that we've been getting, which I've been having a lot of fun with. As per usual, Dylan doesn't have any.
I still can't fathom it.
Also Dylan doesn't read them. He doesn't see any of them.
Right.
But it all.
Sorry about it.
It's okay. It all gets funneled through me. So I read all of them. I like them all, or I give them everybody their kudos. And I usually will text Dylan or send him pictures of them and be like, hey, what do you think about this?
Right.
And he'll get a good kick out of them. He's been having. The funny thing is, he's been having some fun with the comments we've been reading. They've been great.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate them. I appreciate people contributing. And again, as I've said for the past few weeks, and I probably will continue for a while, if you go onto YouTube and do either youtube.com/@Hindsight Studios, or you can just go in the search bar and type in @Hindsight Studios, you can find the YouTube channel there, where all the videos are there for both the Aftermath podcast as well as the About Nothing podcast with Ethan. And you can put comments on those videos, give them a like. If you want to subscribe, so you can keep tuned in to the following episodes.
If you
it's
want
really cool. I know that people that commute to work listen to this. I know that people that are at work usually that have the ability to listen to this, and I think it's really cool and really fun. That we can hopefully make you guys laugh throughout the day, because it's going to be really fun.
If your humor somehow lines up with
it's been really cool to see that there's people out there that kind of get our sense of humor a little bit, because sometimes I feel like
that's the craziest part.
Sometimes I feel like I rein myself in a little bit, and I feel like I should just let it all out, because I feel like there's probably someone who's going to find it to be
inside.
I think it's going to find it really funny.
Oh man!
But
the clown within.
Let me know what you guys think towards that. We have gotten a couple of suggestions, and they've been put on the suggestion board for potential
we got a list
in the future. We got one of them that was a suggestion that we actually did do, and that was, I think, last week's episode.
Oh yeah, with
the Warriors. That was a suggestion from the audience.
We're listening,
and that was a fun film. That was a great episode.
Oh yeah,
and that was I have never heard that film, and it was really cool to watch that. So yeah, but anyways, like I said, contact us wherever you can.
The usual place.
But anyways, until next week, thank you so much for listening.
See ya.
Bye-bye.